There we go. Okay, so Chamisha Chumshin Hein. It's an interesting one. Chamisha Chumshin. All right. This is five Chumash. But that's obviously not what it means. That means it's this five Chaimish. Elohein. Eichel Truma, meaning there's 5 times that you have to pay Chaimish. Eichel Truma, somebody eats Truma. Or Trumas Meiser. You eat Trumas Meiser. Trumas Meiser is what the Levi has to give to the Kayan. Or Trumas Meiser Shel Demai. And Trumas Meiser of Demai. Demai is when it's coming from an Amoritz. We don't know if he took it off or not. Ba'chala. If a Yisrael eats Chala. Ba'bikurim. And Bikurim, which is the first fruits. So on all these, if you eat them, when you pay it back, Moisef Chaimish, you have to add on a fifth. Paida Netarevai, somebody who's Paida Netarevai is basically the same thing as Maisa Sheni. That's the 4th year of a new tree. You got to take it up to Yerushalayim. So if it's a pain to take care of it, so if it's a pain to carry it, so you put it onto a coin, right? Maisa Sheni Shaloi and his own Maisa Sheni, Maisa Chaimish, right? So when you redeem it onto a coin, you always have to add on a fifth. If somebody's being paid his own hektish, also Maisa Chaimish, he has to add on a fifth. Hanene Shava Pruta Mina Hektish. If somebody was Nene from Hektish a Shava Pruta, then Maisa Chaimish, he adds on a fifth. Shava Pruta. Somebody steals from his friend the Shava Pruta v'nishbaloi, and he swears and he lies. Moisef Chaimish, he adds on a Chaimish. Right,
that's a lot more than 5.
What?
It said Chamisha Chumshin Hein. That's a lot more than 5.
Right. Yes, that's a yeah.
Yeah. So what do you mean 5? There's a lot more than 5
cases. It's 2 different cases. Yes, the first case is when you're adding on a chaimish. The next case is when you're being paida. Meaning the first cases are talking about where you have to be moisef a chaimish. Right? I'm sorry, the other way around. No, I had a teretz for this. I had a teretz for this. It's too much matzah. What was the teretz? I think the first bunch are considered go under 1. That's what it is. I think that's a pshat.
From the Lashon, it could certainly be. It says, Oicha Truma, Trumas Maisa, Shape Demai, V'Haschal, V'Habikurim, Moisef Chaimish. That's all one category. That's all one category. Right? I played in the Ravoy, Maisa Shanish, Moisef Chaimish. That's another one. Right? So I think if you read it that way, you're probably right. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I didn't count it up though. I didn't count up whether it fits into the numbers or not.
Yeah. I just count. I counted. It counted 6, but I don't know. I thought it counted 6. Ma'aseh would be 1, 2. Then Pruta minim hektish 3. A guy's a chaver shiva Pruta nishma 5. I guess it's 5. 5. 5. 1. Was it 2? Was it 3? Then I should have put them in a hektish 4. Yeah, it's 5. There's 5 times it says.
Okay, so
5 times.
Then it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm muted now. Okay,
fine. No, it's a good kasha. Okay, so Zok the Gemara, Frek the Gemara. So Amar Rav, kasha le Rabbi Loza, Chumas Ma'isa Shel Demai. Rabbi Loza had a kasha from Chumas Ma'isa Shel Demai. Right? Meaning because Chumas Ma'isa Shel Demai is a derabbanan. Yeah, it's if a chiyasu chachamim chizik to the reim kishal Torah. Did a chachamim make a chizik to their words just like the Torah? Meaning the Torah says that if somebody eats truma, so that's an issa deraisa. So the Torah told you, then you have to add a fifth, right? But who says that the Rabbanon have the right to also add on that fifth? The Maya isn't the Rabbanon. As we tonight, we'll have a couple of things that we just learned in Mishnayos last week, 2 weeks ago. So who says the Chachamim have the power to do that? So Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Shmuel, Hamani Rameir, it's going according to the Rameir. Amar also Chachamim chizik with the Rein Kishal Torah. Yes, the Chachamim made chizik to their words just like the Torah. All right. Now Tosfos, of course, asks the second Tosfos down says, well, what kind of kash is this? What's the Gemara asking? So sometimes the Rabbanon are even more strict than the Torah. What are you saying? Chachamim have a right to do something after the Torah, right? But so Tosfos really says that's when it's a siyag. When you're doing it as a siyag, meaning as a fence, that's when the Chachamim overpower the Torah. But this is Stam just designing their din the same way after the Torah. Some Rav Nachman Mashul Hamani Ramei Amar also Chacham Chizik with the Rein Kishal Torah. Right, it's like that. The Chacham made Chizik to their words, so they made it like the Torah. The Tanya maybe gave him Dinas Hayam. Somebody brings a get from Dinas Hayam. Nasnu law, Eloi Amar law b'faninech the faninech. So he gives her the get. We know that when the Chacham were masakin, when you bring a get from overseas, the shliach has to say b'faninech the faninech. If he didn't do it, Yoitzi, then. Right, this is Rameir's shita, which is very difficult to understand. Then the man that she got remarried to, Yaitzi, divorces her of Vlad Mamzer, and the Vlad's Mamzer. Even though it's just a Takanas Acham, the Rameir. Chacham reign of Vlad Mamzer. Vlad is man Mamzer. Kate said, Yasi, Yitlena Mimena, he takes it back from her, but Yasu Yitlena and gives it back to her. If Neishaim in front of two people, Yomer Lo, he says to her, right, so we were going according to the mayor who Taka holds that the Rabbanon could go and make a kid into a mamzer, even though he's only also with the Rabbanon, right? Which is really an unbelievable shita. But that's so you see, if they could do that, then they're going to do for Demai. They're going to say the same thing. So I'm going to answer the mayor. How could that be? That the Vlad is a mamzer. So in Rameir Latamei, that's where Rameir holds. Damar of Hamruna B'Shmei Deula. Rameir Kol Hamishana Mimetveya Shetiva Chacham Begitin Yotziva Vlad Mamzer. Anybody who changes from the coin, literally, but anybody who changes the Chachamim's din by Mamzer, by Lavim, is an automatic Mamzer. Yes, that's Rameir's din. Fine. Yeah.
Don't the Chachamim always use, whichever Chachamim you're talking about, use their powers of being a Chacham to do whatever they want all the time? So that's just my comment. You don't have to answer.
Rabban, when I learned this Gemara, you're the first person I thought of. I said, this Gemara, we're going to have a good time with this. I'm surprised it took you so long to even to say. I don't want to gas you up. I'm about to yum I don't know. I was tired of it's it's why you're 100% right. I mean, I don't know if you're right, but I agree with you.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that it's right, but yeah, it's pretty. It's very interesting.
We also have a Gemara in Brachos that says a similar lashon called Mashan of Matbeya Shetava Chachamim. It says also Lashan Matbeya Shetava Chachamim. It's also to change it, like in the davening. You can't just change around the davening however you want, So. But that doesn't make a mamzer, but except for the guys I'm davening with. But
it better not make a mamzer. Let me tell you.
You see what they daven and forget. You would agree.
I mean, you could hear maybe the svara that if the chachamim are stelling avek, let's talk like that you have to do a marriage or a get in a certain way. Then they have to put it down like, hey, this is serious business. Otherwise, people are gonna trample all over it and not care. Right? Yeah, but so that's how you have to say it, the pshat. Okay, so now, so Masiv Rav Sheishes has the kasha. Mechalel and ice. This is a long kasha right now. This kasha takes us well into the next. Well, this shak of Ataya takes us for a while. So Masiv Rav Sheishes said a kasha. Meaning that Rameir said that the Chachamim can take something and go and make it like my with a mamish power like a derais. So Masiv Rav Sheishes Mechal and Oisoi Kesef al Kesef. So we're talking about Ma'aser Sheni. So let's say a guy took his Ma'aser Sheni and it's too heavy for him. It's too heavy for him to shove, so he puts it onto coin. So let's say he puts it onto one type of coin, and then he wants to put it onto a different coin. So Mechal and Oisoi Kesef al Kesef. He can be Mechal from silver to silver. Nechoshes on the choshes, copper to copper, kesef on the choshes, silver to copper, nechoshes al peris, and then he could put it from the choshes back to fruit, b'yachzor, b'yiftas a peris, and then he can go be paid to the peris. Divrei Rameir, that's a sheet of Rameir. Chomer yalu peris v'yachlu b'Yerushalayim, and the Chomer say no, he cannot do that. Once you're putting into peris, then that's it. Then you have to take up the Peiros Yushalayim. Right? Meaning, we don't say that you have to put it back onto money. Right? So, okay, so then the Gemara says, Mimachal and Kesef on the Choshes, and are you allowed to take silver and put it onto copper? But Tanan Sela Shal Ma'aser Sheni V'Shal Chulin Shinus Arvu. Let's say a guy has coins, one of Ma'aser Sheni, one of Chulin, and they got mixed up. So now he has no idea which one is which. So what do? Maybe Besela Mois. What he does is he brings money, and he says, "Kol Makam Sheyeshna Sela Shal Ma'aser Sheni Mechulel Sal Mois Halalu." Whichever one of those is the Ma'aser Sheni one, it's Mechulel onto this one. Ubayras Yavish, and then he takes the nicer one. And then he is mechalal it, right? So a whole complicated procedure. He takes the new coin and then he's mechalal into other coins. So now we start today's daf. Amru. Why do you have to do this for? Meaning Rashi goes through a whole arichas. Why can't you just do it very simple, right? Just take whatever coin it is and say whichever one of these two coins is put onto another coin. Because we say that the shasat chak, you're allowed to take silver and put it onto copper. Loy sheyikayim kain. Not that it should stay this way. But meaning you could do it temporarily in order to eventually put it back onto kesef. Right? Meaning, so in other words, we don't normally allow you to do this. Right? So meaning you could do it as a temporary, and then you're going to put it back onto kesef. Katani miyas, but we learn. What do we learn? So what's the more I want with all this? Mechal and midoichik. You only can be mechalal midoichik. You can only take silver and put it onto copper midoichik. Midoichik in shalai midoichik loy. It's mashma only midoichik. Shalai midoichik you can't. Right? But what did we say before? That you could take. We said before you could take Ma'aser Sheni of the Mai, and you could put it onto Nechoshes. And it wasn't the Makam Tzairich, it was Stam. We said you could do this. Yeah. Now, how come you could do it? I mean, this is talking about this second Brisa or Mishnah is talking about regular Ma'aser, which says you can only do it midoichik. The first Mishnah, which is saying take kesef, put on Nechoshes, that's on by Ma'aser Sheni. And there it just says you could do it lechatchila. Right? So you see that the Rabbanon were more makel by Demai. Again, by regular Ma'aser Sheni, you're not allowed to take your coins unless it's a doichik. You're not allowed to take your coins and put it from a kesef to a nechoshes or nechoshes to kesef. You can't do any of that. But by Demai, you can only do it in b'shas atchak. But by Demai, you're allowed to do it. So you see that the Rabbanon were more makel by Demai than they were with regular chumas, whatever maesters. Someone answers on Rabbi Yosef. We're 4 lines down on Nunavav. If anybody joining now, I'm Rabbi Yosef. Afal pishameka remeir b'pityoina. Rabbi Yosef is an interesting chiddush. Reb Meir was meko by the pigeon, but machmer hu ba'achilasa. He's machmer by achila, meaning by the pigeon of my. He says you don't have to keep it like a deraisa, but by adding a chaimish, then he made the deraisa exact the rabbanon just like the deraisa. The Tanya lo yitiru limkor demai el lasitan bavad. Hey, this is talking about, and we just had this Mishnah Demai, or a form of this Mishnah Demai, that we know that you have somebody who has a chazaka that he takes off maisus. So anything that comes from him is not Demai, right? But he's not allowed. But Memela, since why? Because he doesn't ever let anything out from under his hands unless maisus is taken off. So now, can he go sell fruit to somebody without taking off the mai? If everybody expects that he takes off the mai, so he has to maintain his reputation. So the Brisa says, Lo yitiru limkor demai el lasitam bavad. He's only allowed to sell his demai without taking off the truma, the maisras, to a sitan. A sitan is a wholesaler, right? Because everybody knows a wholesaler gets things from tons of different sources. Ubalabayis benkach ubenkach tzarich laasa. But a balabayis, either way, he always has to be ma'aser. Meaning, if he's giving to a balabayis, he has to take off ma'aser. Because people are going to say, "What's your source?" Oh, him. Oh, he has a chazaka that he takes off the ma'aser. Meaning, he takes off ma'asers. You can give it to him, and we're not according to Chachamim. So you see that Reb Meir is saying Reb Meir shita is that you have to look at the mai l'chumra, that he can't just go give it out without taking off the maesters, right? According to the Chachamim, when somebody gets a large amount, then the person is going to realize that. So then he's not going to have to worry about it. But Reb Meir is machmer. So you see Reb Meir is machmer by the pigeon of the mai. Right. So Ravina has the kasha. So this we also had in the mind. Somebody buys bread from a baker, an Amoritz baker, so we know that you have to take off meisers from it. Meiser min hachama alatzenenes. So you're allowed to take off. Also, before that, let's just do hakdama. So when you're taking off meisers or trumas or this and that, if you take off from two different places, so one of them maybe Meiser was taken off, and one of them maybe Meiser was not taken off. So then if you go take off Meiser from one and it goes on the other, meaning and the Meiser was already removed, so then your Meiser did nothing. Meaning, if I go to a guy who's an Amoritz, so but it happens to be that the Meiser was taken off from one challah, and on another challah wasn't taken off. So I go and I take off meiser from the challah that was already taken off unbeknownst. And we're saying that it covers the other challah. It doesn't work. It all has to be not meisered or not trumad. Right? So therefore you can run into trouble. So the question is, when you buy from one baker, so can we assume that it all came from the same thing and either it was all meisered or was not meisered? So somebody buys from a baker. He can take meiser from hot bread on the cold bread that he bought the day before. And he could assume that it came from the same supplier. And from the cold on the hot. And he can even take it from many different a tfus is like how do you say it? A mold. Right? Yeah, because they were Remeir. So Remeir is obviously being very makel here that it all came from one source. So we understand that you're allowed to take from the cold bread on the hot bread, which again is just another way of saying that you took bread yesterday from the baker, and today you're taking it from you're taking today from the same baker, but maybe it's a different source, right? How do you know if somebody takes truma from bad fruit on nice fruit, truma, that the truma is a truma? It says you're not going to get a chet when you take off the chaylev, the fats from it. Lama, if you're taking off lousy vegetables based on good vegetables, so then if it doesn't even work, so then what chet did you do? So you see that that it does work. So basically, you're allowed to. Meaning, you're not. It's not a nice thing to do. But if you take truma from something bad for something good, then it works. But even if you take it from many different tfusim, from many different pans, how come we're not worried that maybe this baker was supplied with grain from one over the other, or from patur on the chiyav? Right? So Rameir should be concerned with this type situation. So, and he wasn't. So you see that he's not looking at the Mai. Again, this is by the Mai. He's not looking at the Mai like it's any sort of problem. So that's a kasha. Now, before the Gemara goes with that, so the Gemara says, Amar Abaye, Rabbi Lazar shapik kashale. Rabbi Lazar had a good kasha. The Shmuel loy shapik kamashanile, and Shmuel did not give him an answer. What are we talking about? The kasha le Rabbi Lazar misa b'dei Shammai. Rabbi Lazar had a kasha from misa b'dei Shammai, right? Which is not as strict as Mises Bezdin, right? Meaning we're talking about the Chachamim making demai as choshuv as regular meiser, right? So that's regular meiser is bidei Shammai. So we had this kash Mashani le Shmuel Mises Bezdin, and Shmuel brought him a teretz, and he said, "You see that Rameir holds by a get that it's not a good get." So that was his teretz. Why are you bringing a raya that's saying, "Oh, Rameir holds that midrabanon the kids are mamzer, so therefore you take off chumas meiser"? What kind of raya is that? Maybe Rameir, it's a Mises Bezdin. So that was that guy. Then Rav Sheshes lav shaper kamois. Rav Sheshes didn't ask a good kasha either. The comedy into misa, because they answered Misa, Umaysiv Rav Sheshes lav, and then Rav Sheshes went and asked from Maisa Sheni, which is just a lav. So basically, the Gemara is asking that we're not equating all these isurim. First you say a Misa b'dei Shemayim, then you compare it to Misa's Bezdin, then you just compare it to a lav. Fine. So that's what the Gemara says, that the Gemara doesn't like this whole shakla attire. Then ulamai the moisav Rav Sheshes. But with the question Rav Sheshes does ask, Rabbi Yosef Shabbat Kamashanli, Rabbi Yosef gave him a good teretz, right? Meaning Rabbi Yosef's teretz is that Rameir is mechalik between being poida and but he's machmer by achila. The Gemara asks, Ela Ravina, what about Ravina? Adam Yosef Minachtim. But Ravina, right? Ravina said he has the kasha from taking the meiser, the demai from a baker, right? And whether we have to be choshed that there's combinations or not. The sailemi palta. Why don't you bring a raya from palta, from a, what do you call a palta, commercial baker? The tana lekech min a palta, somebody who takes from a palta, meiser cold fuss v'tus. You have to give off a separate meiser from each and every pan. Why? Because we're choshed that each one, because he's a commercial baker, we're choshed that he had different suppliers. They're Rameir. So you see Rameir strict, right? What are you going to say? Palter mitrei plus the Gavri's oven. So meaning it has nothing to do with strict or meaning that you see that he's mako by a baker and strict by a commercial baker. So the Gemara is saying, Elamai, it has nothing to do with whether he's strict by Demai or not strict by Demai. It's just a simple math. By a palter, by a commercial guy, he's taking from 2-3 people. Nachtoim nami mechad gavru huzav, but a nachtoim, usually a regular baker has his one supplier. So therefore there's no chashash. Meaning it has nothing to do with whether more machar on Demai, more meko on Demai. It's just a practical chashash. Fine. Rava says a different teretz. Shmuel Shaper Kamashanile, Shmuel's teretz, you're saying that how could Shmuel bring a raya from Remeir? That Remeir says that somebody's over the Rabban and is the kids of Mamzerim, and you bring a raya to that, to Meiser, right? You can't, that's not a kasha. Shame Misa ba'olam. You can compare all types of misas. As long as somebody's chayev a misa, don't start differentiating between misa b'dei shemayim and misa b'dei adam. It's once there's misa, once you're in for misa, and that's it. Fine. Okay, that's the hard part of the daf. So we had an easy part of the daf, then we had a hard part, now we'll go back to easy. Yeah. So Zog the Mishnah. So now we're back to Oina. So Oina we know is ripping somebody off. You rip somebody off a sixth, then he could get back his money. If it's more than a sixth, then you can just negate the whole thing. So Avodim. So if you sell a slave and you overcharge, or if the seller undercharges, right? I know it goes both ways. You could have Oina on the buyer, you can have Oina on the seller. Avodim, shtarais, right? That's meaning if you want to sell debt and you rip the guy off. Karka doesn't have Oina, Hektish doesn't have Oina, and that. So that's first thing. So here the Gemara doesn't give a number, Rachamim. It just tells you what they are. Then it says Ein Len Tashlume Kefel. If you stole them, we know we know this from Bava Kama that you steal and get caught, you got to pay back double. But like Tashlume Arba Chamisha, and you don't have to pay back 4 or 5. If he steals it and he shefts it or sells it, then you don't pay back 4 or 5. Shemechinam and a Nishpa. Mr. Shemechinam does not swear on all these things. And Avodim Shtaras Karka and Hektish. But Noises Stocher and a Mashalim and a paid watchman also does not pay on these things, right? So that's the Mishnah is teaching us a couple of things. There's no Aina on these things. There's no Kefel. There's no Daled V'Hei. Asher Mechinam doesn't swear that nothing went wrong, and somebody who gets paid to watch it doesn't have to pay. Reb Shimon adds things on Dom Beis now. Kachim shu chayav achri yusan. Kachim that you chayav and achrayis yeshlan and that has I know because you're responsible for it. But if you're not chayav and achrayis, then it doesn't have I know. Meaning this means that this is the difference between a neder and a nedava. If a guy makes a neder that he's bringing a cow to the Beis Hamikdash, if that cow dies, he's got to bring another cow. Because he made a neder, he's bringing a cow to Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, it's his achrayis. Since it's his achrayis, we don't look at it like it's hektish. But if it's an adava, he says, I'm giving this cow as an adava. Right, so that cow is not, meaning if that cow dies, he's not responsible. So therefore, then there's going to be no Aina because it's looked at as if it belongs to the Beis Hamikdash. Now, how would you have Aina on it? You'd have Aina because it was hektish. So let's say it got a mum, and you want to flip it. So then it's considered like it belongs to hektish. Fine. Even somebody who sells a Sefer Torah, there's no Aina on a Sefer Torah. There's no Aina on animals, and there's no Aina on jewelry. And they said back to him, no, they disagree. This whole mission is only going on Avodim, Shtaris, Karka, and Hektish. Everything else has Aina. Okay, so Zog the Gemara, how do we know that these things don't have Aina? Right, that's the source for Aina, that pasuk. If you sell something to somebody or you buy something from somebody that's you're from your nation, only something that goes from hand to hand. Right? Yotzu karkois she'ena metaltalin. It excludes karkois that are not metaltalin. Right? Because they don't get handed hand to hand. Yotzu avodim shehukshu karkois, and it comes to exclude avodim. That we always compare avodim to karka. Yotzu shtaris. Shtaris excludes shtaris. The civic chisen kurumimkar. It says if you sell something, shegufay macher. That's when something the gufay kani. I mean, there's something tangible being bought and acquired. Yatsu shtaris shein gufay macher vein gufay kani. Shtaris is nothing. A star is worth the etzem nothing. It's what's written in the star. So therefore, there's no ayna on that. A star is only the only reason why you have a star is to see what's written as a proof, but there's nothing intrinsic about a star. And from this we learn out that somebody who sells his shtaras to a bison, to a guy selling spices, or what do you call it? Psalmim, yeah, whatever psalmim are. Yeah, so perfume, right? Perfumes, these type of things. Yesh l'mayna, meaning if he's selling the star to him in order to use it to wrap it, so then there is ayna on that. Why? Because then there's something tangible. Meaning the reason why a star doesn't have ayna is because there's nothing to it. It's what's written in it, right? But if you're gonna taka sell him the star,
why can you say the heft of the star is money the money? So there is a tailus to that star.
What?
The heft of the star is money the money. So you are doing something with the. There's a heft and a gabra, right? So the heft of the star.
It's not the heft of the star doing that.
What is it?
The heft is just, you don't need the bad stuff, you don't need the paper you need the ink on it.
So the ink on the star. No, that's the star.
No, the star is the paper. That's why we call it Haspa Alma.
Yeah, it's just yeah. The star is worthless, but if you sell the star to act as a, what do you call it, a stopper, or to wrap it up, so then it's not a problem. But meaning it is a problem. It's meaning it's looked at like it's an item that goes miyad liyad, and it's worth something. Yeah. So then the Gemara says, Pshita, it's Pashit, of course. Why? If you're using the star and you're selling it as something tangible, so then why shouldn't it have Aina? So I answer, Lafukimeter of Kahana, the Amar Ain, I know the Prutas, it comes to exclude of Kahana, who says there's no Aina on Prutas, because Prutas are too small. Kamash Malan, Yesha no Prutas. This Mishnah is holding that there is Aina the Prutas, meaning what is it Prutas? Meaning if something is too cheap, there's no Aina. I think we said on Erev Yom Tov the day before, we said like a gumball. And a gumball, let's say, costs a nickel. And this guy charges 10 cents, even though you're doubling the price, which is Aina, since it's not looked at in any sort of again, I don't know if the numbers are correct. The point is, if it's something that's so small, there's no Aina on that. Fine. Hektish, and how about Hektish? How there's no Aina on Hektish? It says from your brother. Achiv, Veloy hektish and not hektish. Fine. So the Gemara asks, Maskal, this is not a Gemara, is interesting shaklatari here. Maskif lo Rabbi Bar Mama again, the whole limud was yadoi. So the hand to go from hand to hand. It has to be something from hand to hand. So yadoi mamishu. Doesn't always mean your mamish a hand, meaning when something is yad used as a mashal, or is it used specific? Right? So this is talking about by Sichain, right? But with the whole Maya and Sichain and Amirim, when they had this whole fight, so he took it. Says that Sichain got it all Meyadai. Achanami to call Arab Yadai have a nuggle. Does that mean? Do we take the pasuk literal? That's what I was looking for. Do we take the pasuk literal that all the land was in Sichon is the one that took it, right? Right, yeah. So it does all the hand was all the karka was in his hand. Ella mirishusay. It's talking about, doesn't mean that it was in his hand, it means it was in his rishus. So achanami mirishusay. So to here, why don't we say that oina is on anything that belongs to a person's rishus? We don't take the word hand literally. So the Gemara says, okay, and so what do you want to say? That when it says hand, it's not mamish hand, but if you find the Geneva in a guy's hand, that only tells us his hand. How do we know that it's in his roof or his yard or his karfif? Meaning the way that would work is if a cow comes into your yard, somebody else's cow, and then you lock it, that stealing is not from your hand. You didn't steal it with your hand, but you stole it with your property. So if it gets found, so you see by Geneva, yad is not taken literally. So now, is yad literal or not? So the one answers time because of Rahman and Mimatze. I mean, the one is asking time because of Rahman and Mimatze. So the reason is because the pasuk wrote Himatze. Halav hachi. If not for this, havamina, I would have thought kol hechad the cause of yada mamashu. Wherever it says yada, the taka means it means literal. There's soon another raya tanya v'nosam b'yada, and he has to give the get into her hand. Ainly yada. It only tells us that if you put the get in her hand, gaga chatzera kafefa minayin. How do you know if it goes into her roof or her chatzah? Tamiloymer v'nosan mikol makam, any type of nesina. Time because of one of a nosan halav hachi. If not for this, havamina kol hecha because of yada mamish. Whatever it say the word yada, it means it's hand mamish. So you see that yad is to be taken literally. So what do we have here? So we have conflicting rayas whether anytime it says yad in the Torah, is it meant to be literal or not?
What's this last part? Time of the Kasser of Rahman ben Nassan. What does that mean again?
The V'nasan tells you that it's not to be taken literally, and it could be you could put it into a yard or a carpet. But if it wouldn't have said V'nasan, then you would say it means literal.
Okay, I look call you.
Mamish. What are you saying?
No, I got it. Okay.
Yeah, very good. So Ella call yada mamishu. Anytime it says yada, it's literal. It means his hand. Shani, literally his hand. Shani awesome. Say there by the sichain, it can't be taken literal. So since it can't be taken literal, so it's a say, which again is not so posh to understand. He's saying that yada really means literal, except when it can't mean it. When it can't mean it, it's okay, so it doesn't mean it.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand. I didn't get that.
Right. That's for Rabar. That's for Yishver also. Another one like that. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna or whatever. I'm gonna stop. I'm not doing my apikarsis cholamayit. I'm gonna keep my mouth closed. Right? Okay, but fine. So that's what it says. So basically, I'm gonna say yada is literal unless you can say another shot. Right? Okay. Fine. So then, boy Reb Zera. Schiros, we'll do a few more lines.
It becomes a problem if yad doesn't mean anything. If all yad means rishus. What about tefillin? It says l'chal yadcha. It means put it anywhere in your rishus. Your yad tefillin.
Beautiful.
Yad has to mean yad.
Gershon,
otherwise we would say, yeah.
Gershon, it says the Rebbeinu puts on tefillin. Where does he put it?
Hey, we just had 2 nights where we said biyad chazaka 15 times each.
Oh, so what do you say to that, Taka?
The what? The way we feel.
I had the comfort of drinking yain and eating matzah when I said it, so I had no problem.
Well, yain you had.
Well, you also said etzba and yad, so it's not so simple.
Literal. Isn't there taken literal?
I think it's all the drasha. I can't imagine.
Not according to the morale my son said over.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's good. So okay, I don't know. The truth is now that you say maybe talk is not literal. right? I'm saying yad.
That's the point. I think that in general, if it can be taken literally, the Gemara is saying that it must mean literally. Otherwise, half the Torah falls apart. But where it can't be taken literally, then okay, it can't be taken literally. You don't have a choice.
That's exactly what the Gemara is saying. When there's no choice, there's no choice.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, weiter. Fine. So then, boy, Reb Zera, new sugi. Schirus yesh lo no in lo no. So now we're talking about a sale. Does it have a no? Does not have a no? Mimkar amar rachmana avaloi schirus. The Torah says v'chi simkaru mimkar. It has to be a sale. But for rentals, you could rip somebody off. Meaning, if you have a rental car company, you could rip somebody off. It's only if you sell cars you have a problem. It makes no difference. Mimkar stomach. So it doesn't say a mimkar loyal that has to be final sale. It's a mimkar. It says mimkar stomach. For today, when you rent something, that's called the sale for the day. So
well, you understand that? I don't.
Yeah, I understand it. I mean, again, whatever understanding
I could do whatever I want with that car for the day.
Yeah.
If I own a car, I could run it off a cliff. If I want to run that car off the cliff today, I could.
Yes, but the next day it's not yours. So the next day you have to pay for it.
Tomorrow the guy's going to say, "Where's my car?" And you say, "Oh, I ruined it." He said, "Well, today you got to pay for it." I think that's the way we look at it. All right?
Yeah, we have that. We have that in Bava Khan. We'll have it again in Bava Basra. You rent a house. You can blacken the walls if you want. You need to whiten them again for the guy when he comes back into it.
Right. Anyways, okay, we'll stop over here because the next sugi goes for a while. So, yeah.
Took me 10 minutes to find the mute button.
In Chicago. I wasn't in Shir Yontif. I hurt myself taking a shower, so I hope Yuri's working tomorrow. But anyway, I didn't tell you, Zevi's second daughter, Mashi, became a Kala Erev Yontif. So we have two chasans, Hashem and the Sum and Eretz Yisrael. Mendel's making a chasan, and Zevi's making chasan.
Are they going to line them up for you?
I don't know. We'll see what they do.
Can I ask you a question? Just al regalachas. Erev Pesach, they got engaged.
Yeah, Zevi. There's no kasha.
Zevi got engaged Erev Pesach.
There's no kasha on Zevi in his family Kanara. That's it. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of ways of getting rid of your chametz easier ways than that. They're making a l'chaim.
Zevi also got engaged Erev Pesach.
Okay, I guess so. Then Baruch Hashem. Listen,
that's a question on you, not on Zevi.
Right. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yeah, very nice.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov for you.
Wonderful.
Mazel tov.
Amen.
Okay, let's say the Tillim Pei Gimel. Shim Rizmal Asaf Elohim Adom Ilach. Al Techrash Vatish Kaid El Ki Yinei Yevecha Yamanu Masanechat Nasu Rosh. Halam Chayim Masari Yisrael Tzvat Tzvanecha Amru L'chuv Nakidim Megai V'lo Yisach Hashem Yisrael Oid.